Okay, chapter 19. The final chapter. So now we're in court, and the defense is kind of short on character witnesses for Celeste. I can't imagine why. It's almost like none of the other teachers want to step forward and jeopardize their career by siding with a pedophile. Except Janet. Remember Janet? Janet Feinlog? The middle-aged, burnout, sick of these little motherfuckers teacher. She steps up as a character witness. Well, she's also not afraid to lose her job because she already lost it. You know, went through this whole book, reading it without my glasses. Still can't find them. Shortly before the Christmas following my arrest, Janet had had an expletive-laced meltdown in front of her class and thrown her chair against the wall. Nearly half the students captured video of the incident on their cell phones. By the end of the day, the recording was well on its way to going viral on every social media website imaginable. So Janet's got nothing to lose. She's just there in court sticking up for her friend. And when describing teenage boys, Janet says, "Their brain is a gerbil and their libido is Sasquatch. You really think the gerbil is going to win?" So now Boyd has been called to the stand, and it's pretty obvious that not only does he not consider himself a victim, he considers himself to be the fucking man. He can't quit smiling. He's very happy that he's getting attention for this, that everybody knows that's, yep, I got her. I got her. So it's a tough sell from the prosecution's perspective to make Boyd seem like a victim. Now, Jack is a little trickier because Celeste had pretty much assumed Boyd was going to have that sort of, cockiness, for lack of a better word. But with Jack, she can't really tell because Boyd only cracked the back of his head on a nightstand. That was like the only damages he suffered from his involvement with Celeste. But Jack's is a little worse because his dad died, and they probably could have saved him. Can imagine that would haunt a young man. And despite all of his psychological turmoil and the worry that he might just flip and just turn on Celeste in court and just ruin her chances of freedom and send her to prison for years and years, she's not as focused on that as she is with the fact that he looks older. It's almost like the stress of losing your father, having to give up your school and your home and moving to another town. It's almost like that's stressful on a kid. Although I'd always known he'd quickly age beyond attraction, I suppose a part of me had hoped that somewhere, in Jack's eyes perhaps, or in a fleeting expression, I could see that our relationship had been forever preserved, a sign that laying my body upon Jack's had been like stopping the moving hand of a clock on at least one part of him. But the eager, incredulous boy of 8th grade whom I still thought of with desire didn't seem to be buried inside him at all. The fluorescent lights of the courtroom magnified his newly pronounced stubble, the ill-fitting suit he wore, likely one of Buck's, that his father had optimistically held on to in case he ever lost his spare tire, didn't help either. Each moment of his testimony, I had to look away and think of the future and hope of the other boys in other places. His adult features felt like an insult of erasure, a failed experiment on my behalf that would never cease to finish failing. So now Celeste's attorney, Dennis, is interviewing Jack, and Jack pretty much says, yeah, I was down with all of it. I consented to all of it. It was great. And it was just the testimony they needed. Because not only does Celeste not get any jail time, she gets 4 years of probation. So she moves to another part of Florida and works at a cabana bar under a fake name. She gets paid under the table. And her parole officer is very laid back. They wear flip-flops, pretty laid back. And she spends most of her time on the beach looking for wayward teenagers who are on vacation with their parents. And she has not learned her lesson at all. She pretends like she's also on vacation. She pretends like she's a college student, and she hooks up with them, gives them a fake number, and just keeps on trucking, man. But hey, at the very least, she's being a little bit more careful. She's trying to force herself to be content with the memories of Jack and Boyd. You know, she's got to go back to the old spank bank, as it were. I never even thought of women as having those. I guess it's different for pedophiles. I guess they all walk around with like a J.P. Morgan sized spank bank on their head at all times, just weighing them down. And that's why a lot of pedophiles get that like creepy posture where their shoulders are up real high. You ever see that, or they're like hunched over? I always thought that was from sitting at the computer too long, you know, doing what they do. But now I'm thinking, yeah, it's just the weight of their spank bank. Just, oh god, there's too many images. Terabytes. But even so, the memory of Jack and Boyd, it's a little tainted because she knows they're older now. And that just really bums her out. It really takes the wind out of her sails. Some nights, in order to orgasm, I have to reimagine history and tell myself that neither of them made it past the eve of my arrest alive. That Jack suffered a fatal wound at my hands in the woods, and Boyd, bleeding alone from the skull in Jack's bedroom, succumbed to shock and died. And that was Tampa.